Hello and welcome to the chapter on list manipulation. This is the part 4 of this particular chapter, and in this part I am going to discuss about the concept of nested list along with various practical examples. So let's get started with the basic definition and introduction to nested list. So what do we mean by nested list? A list that contains one or more lists as its elements are called nested list. So let's say we have a list. Within that list we have various elements, but if the elements itself are lists, then it is known as a nested list. Let's try to understand with the help of an example. So let's say we have this list here: x equals to 11, 22, Elise, Bob, 98.5, 77 and 66. Here you can see that x is a list. Within that list we have two more lists as its elements, which is Elise, Bob and 98.5. This is one list. Within the list x we have another list within the list x, which is 77 and 66. So here, since within one list we are having another list, it is known as what? It is known as a nested list. Let's take another example. Here the list is y. Within that list we are having three more lists. So since within one list we are having another list, therefore y is also known as a nested list. Let's see how to create nested list. So let me open ideally. So this is the interactive mode. If I write x equals to let's say 11, 22, then 33, 44, then 55, 66. Now as you can see, x is a list. How to check x is a list or not? By using the type function. If I write type of x, it will show that it is a list. But within the list x, what are the items? The items are 11 and 22. This is one item. Second item is 33 and 44, and third item is 55 and 66. These items are also list in itself. Therefore, it is known as what? It is known as nested list. Let's move ahead with the concept of indexing. See, we have already learnt about indexing in strings and in case of list in part 1 of this particular chapter. What is indexing? It is a number associated with each and every element of a list. Each element of a list has a number associated with it known as index. So what is index? It is a number associated with each and every element of a list. So let's suppose this is a list x which we considered a few minutes back. Now here, for each element or each item, how many items are there? We have 4 items here, 11 and 22. These are 2 items. Third item consists of a list and fourth item also consists of a list. So the index of 11 is 0 since it is an individual item. Index of 22 is 1. Index of Elise, Bob and 98.5, these 3 elements or these 3 items has the same index 2, and the index of the last list, that is a nested list, is 3. 77 and 66 both has the index 3. What are these? These are the indexes. Now within the nested list we have more indexes. So the index of Elise within the index 2 of the main list x is 0. Index of Bob within the main list x is 1. Index of 98.5 within the main list is 2. Alright. Now if I write x1, this is how we access the items of a list. x1 means I want to display the element at the index 1, which is 22 in this case. If I write x2, that means I want to display the elements at the index 2, which is Elise, Bob and 98.5. Now if I have to access only Elise, then what I'll write? I'll write x20. At first we need to access the main index, which is 2, then the index within the main index, that is 0. So x20 is pointing towards what? Is pointing towards Elise. Similarly, if I write x21, which will be the element? Main index 2 is this. Index 1 within the index 2 is what? It is Bob. So x21 will fetch me Bob. Likewise, if I consider about the last nested list, if I write x31, I am referring to the main index, that is 3, that is 77 and 66. 31 means within the main index 3, I am referring to the index 1, that is 66. In this way, we can access the elements of a nested list. Let's check out here. If I write x0, it means 11, 22. Now, if I need to access only 22, what will be the index here? X0. At first, we need to access the main index. Then, what will be the index of 22? 0, 1. So, x01 will fetch me 22. Now, if I need to access 55, then how to do that? So, at first, I'll access the main index, which is x012. So, I'll be writing 2 here, and within 2, I want to access the first index, that is the 0th index. So, I'll be writing here 2, 0, which will give me the value as 55. So, in this way, I access the elements of a nested list. Let's move ahead with the next topic, which is modifying existing elements of a list. Now, we all know from the previous parts of this particular chapter that lists are mutable in nature. Now, since lists are mutable in nature, after assigning some value to the list, we can change its value. That means we can modify the elements, existing elements of a list. So, since we can modify the existing elements of a normal list, we can modify the existing elements of a nested list too. How it can be done? Let's say we are considering the previous list X itself. Now, let's say I want to change this name from Bob to a different name. That means I want to modify existing items of a nested list. So, at first, let's access this item Bob, which is x21. The index of this main list is 2, and within the main list 2, I want to access the index 1, which is Bob. Now, if I want to change its value, I'll have to do it something like this. x21 equals to, let's say I want to make Bob as Rajesh. So, x21 equals to Rajesh. So, as I press the enter key, and then if I want to see the updated list, I'll have to type X and press the enter key, which will fetch me the new updated list. Now, you can see that Bob has been removed from the list, and in place of Bob, Rajesh has been put up. So, in this way, we can modify the existing elements of a nested list. So, let me show you this concept. Now, if I want to modify 44, let's say in place of 44, I want to put 99. How to do that? At first, you access 44, which can be done by X. What is the index? 0, 1. 1. What is the index of 44 within this 1? 0, 1. So, 1, 1 will give me 44. So, in place of 44, I want to write what? I want to write 99. So, equals to 99, and then press the enter key. Now, if I type X and press the enter key, you will find that 44 has been changed to how much? 44 has been changed to 99. So, since lists are mutable, this operation is possible, but it will not be possible in tuples or strings. Alright, so let's move ahead with the next topic, and let's see the different types of nested list. So, nested list can be subdivided into two types. One is 2D list and second is ragged list. Let's see the concept of 2D list. So, what are 2D list? A list having all its elements as lists of the same shapes is known as two-dimensional list. What do I mean by this? Now, let's consider this list Y. Within this list Y, we have 3 more lists. That means it is a nested list for sure, because within one list we are having other list. And what is the shape of the first item? The shape is, it has 2 elements. What is the shape of the second item? Shape is, it also has 2 elements. Similarly, for the third item, the shape is also 2. So, since its shapes are same, therefore it comes under the category of two-dimensional list. Let's take another example. Here Z. Here also we have two nested lists within the list Z, and both this nested list have the same number of elements, that is 3. In the first nested list we have A, B and C, that is 3 elements, and in the second nested list we have 9, 8 and 7, that is 3 elements here also. So these falls under the category of two-dimensional list. Now if we have such kind of list, here you can see that in the first element we don't even have a nested list, here not even a nested list. In the third, what is the size of the third nested list? It is 3. What is the size of the fourth nested list? It is 2. So we have elements of different shapes. So this is not a two-dimensional list. Similarly here A equals to 45, 11, 22, 9, 8, 7. Here also the shapes are not same. The shape of the first item is 1, shape of the second item is 2, shape of the third item is 3. So these do not fall under the category of two-dimensional list. So remember, for a nested list to be two-dimensional list, all its elements should be lists of the same shapes. That means no matter how many number of lists are there, the number of elements in each nested list must be the same. Then we can say that it falls under the category of two-dimensional list. Let's go to the next type of list, that is the ragged list. So what are ragged list? A list that has lists with different shapes as its elements is known as ragged list. So if the shape of the elements within a list are different, then it falls under the category of ragged list. So here, what is the shape of the first nested list? It is 2. Shape of the second nested list, it is 3 because it has 3 items. So are the shapes same? No, they are different. So these are ragged list. Alright. So now let's go to the next topic, which is traversing a nested list. Now what do I mean by traversing? Traversing means accessing each and every item of a nested list. So let's write a program for traversing a nested list. Here what I am going to do, I am going to accept a nested list of the students. At first I'll ask how many students are there in the class, then I'll accept the roll number, name and percentage, and then traverse each and every item of this list. So let's make a program related to that. So I'll be opening a new file. So here at first let's take an empty list X, and then I'll ask the user how many students are there in the class. So n equals to int input, enter the number of students in your class. Alright, then what I'll be doing, I'll traverse this list for I in range. So this range will depend on the number of students in the class. So it will be 0, n. So if I type the number of students as 3, so it will be 0, 3. That means the elements in this set will be 0, 1 and 2. That means 3 iterations. Then let's receive the roll here. Let's say int input, enter roll. Then let's receive the name by, let's say, name equals to input. Name is a string, so I'm using directly input, enter name, and finally let's receive the percentage scored by the student. It will be float, so I'll be taking here float input, enter percentage. Alright, now what I'm going to do, these 3 items, whatever I'll receive, I'll put it within the empty list X. How to put items within an empty list? Using the function append. So what was the syntax? Syntax was the target list, which is X dot append, and then within that we are going to put the item that is to be appended. The item is roll number. I'll append 3 items, name and percent. Okay, so these items will be appended to the list X. Then again this loop will run for the second set of values, then again it will be appended. Then if there are 3 students, then again this loop will run and again it will be appended. So by the end of this iteration, we will be having a filled list with the number of items, that is roll number, name and percentage of n number of students of a class. Don't worry, I'll trace it line by line and show it to you again. So then for printing it, let's put the heading at first. Let's say roll, I'll put a pipe here, name, and then percentage. Alright, now I need to access each and every item of this list one after another. So for this I need to use the concept of nested loop, which is in this manner. For let's say I in X. For I in X means at first I am taking the entire list X. Then I'll take another loop in which I'll be accessing each and every nested list within the main list. So then I have to access for j in what? For j in I, and then print j comma end equals to, let's give some gap here. Okay, end equals to something means I'm putting the cursor at that line itself. So after displaying the first list, let me put a gap here. So I'll put a print here. So I'll just have to save it by some name .py, and then I'll be running this code. Enter number of students in your class. Let's say I'll put it as 2 here. Enter roll, let's say 1. Enter name, let's say Elise. Enter percentage, let's say 88. Then again, since I put 2, this iteration will be running for 2 times. 2, let's say enter name, let's say Bob now. Enter percentage, let's say 77, and bang, enter. So as you can see here, I'm getting roll, name and percentage, and these are being displayed in separate lines. So as you can see, there are like the space is more here, that can be adjusted by reducing the number of spaces in end. That we can easily do, and then run it again. Let me run it again. Enter number of students in your class 2. Let's say roll number 1 Elise, and percentage I'll give the same 88. Roll number 2 Bob, and percentage let's say 77. Okay, now you can see that the space is reduced, but now it is reduced further. So I have to give some more space and adjust it. That adjustment can be done using this one only. Okay, so this adjustment you can do by running it for multiple times. But the main thing to be understood here is how traversing is taking place. So let us try to understand this particular program line by line. Alright, so I'll just do it. Okay, so at first, in the first line, what we are having a empty list, and then n equals to int input enter number of students in your class. Let's say this is the output screen. So what will come as the first line of output? Enter number of students in your class. Let's say I type 2 here. See the next line, for I in range 0, n. What is the value of n here? Whatever value you will type, it will be stored in n. So the value of n in our case is 2. So for I in range 0, 2. So for I in range 0, 2. So what will be the values within this set? It will be 0 and 1. We already know about the concept of loop. And then, so at first, what will be the value of I? The value of I at first will be 0. It will take up 0 and it will come inside. Then what we have here? Roll equals to int input enter roll. So that's the first line. So what will come in the output? Enter roll. Let's say you enter roll as 1. So 1 will be stored in the variable role. Next, so this line is running currently. Next, what we have, name equals to input, enter name. So what will come in the output screen? Enter name. Let's say name I put as Elise. So Elise will be stored under the variable what? Under the variable name. Next, what will come? Enter percentage. Let's say percentage I put as 88. So the value within the variable percent will be how much? The value within the variable percent will be your, sorry about that, okay, it's, yeah, the value, yes, the value within the variable percent will be 88. We are in this line currently. Then what is happening here? X dot append roll comma name comma percent. That means all these three values 1, Elise and 88 are packed as a single element and are put within the list X, because it is written what? X dot append roll comma name comma percent. So what is the current status of X? The current status of X is X was empty at first, X equals to empty. This was the first status. After this line, X dot append roll comma name comma percent, this is the status of X. Alright. So now this is a loop. So after this line, again it will, the control will go here. Now it will take the second value of I, which is 1 now. So it will take 1 and it will come inside this loop. So again it will accept roll, like enter roll, let's say you type 2, so the value of roll will be 2. Enter name, let's say Bob, so value of name will be Bob now. Enter percent, I am writing in shortcut, so let's say percentage is 77, so value of percent will be 77 now. Then again we have X dot append roll comma name comma percent. So again these three values will be packed as 1 and it will be, what will be done? It will be packed into the list X. So what will be the status of X? The status of X will be this, comma 2 comma Bob comma 77. So this will be the status of X now. So now after this it will again go to the loop and it will see that all the values of I are being used up. So the list is exhausted, no sorry, the loop is exhausted. So now what it will happen? It will come, the control will come to this line. And what will be printed? Roll, name and percentage will be displayed in the output screen. So let's continue the output screen here. What will be displayed in the output screen? Roll, to put it here, yeah, name, percentage, writing in short. Alright. After that, what I have for I in X, for I in X, what will be X now? What was the final status of X? The final status of X was this. For I in X, so what will be the first value of I? The first value of I will be these three elements, 1, Elise and 88. Okay. Then after putting the pointer here, it will come to the next line. For J in I, so what will be the value of J? J, the value of J, the first value of J will be the current value of I. So the value of J will be what? Value of J will be the first value of the current I, that is 1. Alright. So 1 is the current value of J. What will be printed? Print j, that is 1. End equals to space, so some gap will be left, and then again it will go here for j in I. That means it will take the next value of I, that is Alice. Print j. What is the current value of j? It is Alice. Then again this loop will go and it will take the next value of I, which is 88. So here 88 will be shown up. Now all the values of the first value of I is completed. So it will break this loop and come to this particular line. Print and empty bracket is there. That means the cursor will now move to the next line. After that, what will happen? Since this is the nested list, the control will again go to this. For I in X, now what will be the second value of I? The second value of I will be this complete list, 2, Bob and 77. So it will take up this and it will come here. For j in I, so what will be the value of j? The first value of j will be 2. Okay, so it will take 2 and it will come here. Print j. What is the current value of j? It is 2. End equals to a gap, so some gap will be left, and then again this loop will execute. For j in I, what will be the next value of j? It will be Bob. It will take up Bob and it will come inside. Print j. What is the current value of j? It is Bob, and some space will be left, and then again it will go to this particular line. For j in I, what will be the next value of j? The next value of j will be 77. It will take up 77 and it will come here. Print j. So what will be printed? The current value of j, that is 77. So after that, what we have? The loop is exhausted, so it will come and go to the next line. That means the cursor will be pointing here now. Then again it will go to the first loop and it will observe that all the items of the loop X is completed. Now since all the items of the list X is completed, now this will be displayed in the output screen. So this is the manner in which a nested list is traversed. At first we have accepted the items from the user, we have packed the nested list into an empty list, and then what we did, we accessed each and every item of the nested list. So for doing that, we used the concept of nested loop also. Okay, so this is the complete program and this is the output. Okay, this is how we traverse a nested list. Very important program. It will be very useful in your projects and further Python learning also. So that's all for the day. I hope that this session was useful. Thank you very much.